Born in the USA was the album that made Bruce Springsteen an American icon and a hero for the working class. But as he said,
"No, you can't tell people anything. You've got to show them."
Born down in a dead man's town, the first kicker took us when I hit the ground. End up like a dog that's been beat too much, till you spend half your life just to cover it up now. Born in the USA.
perhaps the most iconic song Bruce has ever written, and the title track of this album, was inspired by Ron Kovic's autobiography, Born on the 4th of July.
I was traveling through Arizona in the late 70s, and I bought a book called Born on the 4th of July by a Vietnam veteran named Ron Kovic. And it was his story about going and coming home to find out that his home wasn't there anymore. We went on to Los Angeles, and I was staying in a little motel, and there was a fellow sitting by the side of the pool in a wheelchair. And I had the book with me, and he said, "Man, I wrote that book."
He was saying, "Wow, I wanted to meet you," and I couldn't believe that Springsteen wanted to meet me, and I told him that I hadn't heard his music, that much of his music, and he went out to a Tower Records, and he bought all of his albums for me, and he left them next to the door of my hotel room. That's the truth. And he signed Darkness on the Edge of Town with the statement, if this album can affect you half as much as your book affected me, then I will have done my job.
Kovic invited Bruce to a veterans center in Venice. At the center, Bruce didn't know how to respond to the veterans, so he just listened to their stories, made small talk, and answered questions about music. He thought about how his friends died in the war and how he himself got out of the draft.
At the time, I don't remember having any real political convictions about it. I just knew that I didn't want to die. I didn't go.
Driving back, he and Ron discussed what might be done to draw attention to what these young men and women were going through. Later, he met Bobby Muller, who was a veteran and founder of Vietnam Veterans America. On August 20th, 1981, Bruce played a benefit concert for the VVA at the Los Angeles Memorial Sports Arena.
Listen for a second. Tonight, we're here for the men and the women that fought in the Vietnam War.
And after that, he felt the responsibility to honor the vets through his music, and he wanted to find out for himself what being an American really meant. Born in the USA was originally written during the Nebraska sessions in 1981, but Bruce left over the song, which would set the narrative for 1984's Born in the USA album. The song strongly differs from the early demo, recorded in 1982. The E Street Band added a bigger anthemic sound to the otherwise raw acoustic song. A couple of verses, and the arrangement was changed, but the core of the song remained the same. Springsteen believes that if he would have had undercut the music, it would have been more easily understood, but not as satisfying. Bruce was sent a script for a movie titled Born in the USA from screenwriter and director Paul Schrader. Schrader is known for writing Taxi Driver and writing and directing Blue Collar, two of Springsteen's favorite movies from the 70s. While writing a song about a veteran coming back home, titled Vietnam, he glanced over at the unread script and sung out its title, which would become the iconic chorus.
Born in the USA. I was born in the USA. Born in the USA.
The script was a story of the troubles of a local bar band from Cleveland, Ohio. The movie was eventually released in 1987 as Light of Day. Springsteen repaid for stealing the name by writing the title song. This song raised awareness for the victims of the Vietnam War, and along with many other hit singles, catapulted Bruce into stardom. Bruce knew that he captured lightning in a bottle with Born in the USA. The first person he played it to was Bobby Muller.
Blind faith in your leaders or in anything will get you killed.
I had a brother, I can't solve, fighting off our Vietcong. They're still there, he's all gone. No more war! No more war!
This place has a way of making us think about the kind of future our young people will have.
Reagan's re-election campaign in 1984 was all about bringing in independent voters, since his team has decided that his core supporters would vote for him no matter what. It was focused on images rather than issues. Reagan's unofficial campaign advisor, George Will, attended a Springsteen concert in Largo, Maryland, and was impressed by the show. He wrote, "If all Americans, in labor and management, who make steel or cars or shoes or textiles, made their products with as much energy and confidence as Springsteen and his merry band make music, there would be no need for Congress to be thinking about protectionism."
Gentlemen, the President of the United States.
In one of his speeches in Hamilton, New Jersey, Ronald Reagan, who liked to acknowledge the locals and slip in a few references, mentioned Springsteen.
America's future rests in 1,000 dreams inside your hearts. It rests in the message of hope in songs of a man so many young Americans admire, New Jersey's own Bruce Springsteen.
The boss later replied on stage at a concert in Pittsburgh.
The president was mentioning my name in his speech the other day. I kind of got to wondering what his favorite album must have been. I don't think it was a Nebraska album. I don't think he's been listening to this one.
He then played Johnny 99 from Nebraska. Johnny 99 is a song about an auto worker from Mahaw, New Jersey, who gets laid off and shoots a man. Johnny is sentenced to 99 years in prison, but requests to be executed instead.
He came home too drunk from mixing Tanqueray and wine. Got a gunshot a night clerk, now they call him Johnny 99.
Bruce revealed in an interview from December 1984 that he only voted once, 12 years earlier. In his autobiography, he writes, he began mentioning politics in songs on Darkness on the Edge of Town. However, Darkness on the Edge of Town wasn't as serious or impactful as Born in the USA.
There's people going hungry. There's old folks whose social security checks don't get them through the month. There's people who've been hit by unemployment. There's people who the trickle-down theory of economics ain't trickling down to.
Although Bruce was made into a political figure by the likes of the president, he didn't dwell heavily into politics until the 90s, when he became a solo artist.
He's not a product of hype. He's not a product of the media. He's not here today, gone tomorrow. He's a guy who's been doing this for all his adult life and gathering fans from live performances. As quickly as people could see him, they would tell their friends, and if they could squeeze in the next time, they'd see him, and then they'd tell their friends, and so on, right? And the cult, if you can call it a cult, it now numbers in the hundreds of thousands or millions. It is a cult. It's people who have personally seen it, experienced the show, it's the live show, and told their friends, and then, like now, I'm sure there's a few people that'll see him for the first time at the Spectrum. They've been hearing about it like you have, and they want to go see him. But once they see him, then they know, and then they're the ones in line the next time to buy the tickets first. You know.
I don't think I overly think about what I'm going to write about before it comes out. You know, usually the records never end up being what I thought they were going to be. You know, they're always different. You just try to tap into something and then, you know, and see what comes out, you know, this time around.
So much of your music is about surviving, about being disillusioned with the American dream. And yet you're the personification of the American dream. You've made it. How do you reconcile those two things?
I don't know. I don't, you know, it's not something I've resolved in some fashion.
Before this album, Bruce Springsteen released Nebraska, an album constructed of 10 demos about the raw realities of American life, which he quickly recorded alone in his house on a 4-track cassette recorder, mostly on one evening on January 3, 1982. For the first time, he didn't care what anyone thought about his new release. However, with Born in the USA, he was looking for mass appeal. Bruce began working on Born in the USA before the release of Nebraska in 1982. He finished crafting the album in 26 months and wrote over 70 songs, from which he picked the 12 best. Born in the USA, Working on the Highway, Downbound Train, Darlington County, Glory Days, I'm on Fire and Cover Me were basically completed in the early stages. Later, Springsteen took a break to record Nebraska, and then he couldn't write anymore. For a few months, he was searching for something deeper and heavier, with no success. Eventually, he slowly came up with Bobby Jean, No Surrender, and Dancing in the Dark. By then, he wrote a lot of songs that ended up on tracks because he felt that the later songs weren't as natural and alive as his original set. Bruce quietly carried the undercurrents of Nebraska onto the lyrics on Born in the USA. He originally planned a double album constructed of these two releases, but the difference in sound was too off-putting. The songs from Born in the USA are much more polished and pleasant.
When I was writing the Born to Run album, I was kind of interested in writing like bigger than life, you know, bigger than life size, real, very romantic and heroic, I guess. And lately, I guess mainly I've just tried to scale it down to what I feel life size is, you know. My concept of, I think what heroicness has changed quite a bit since those days.
The perfect example of Springsteen's shift in songwriting is Dancing in the Dark. The most radio-friendly song in his catalog was written in a single night in a hotel as Springsteen was pressured by his manager, John Landau, to write the last song for the album, a hit single that would get widespread acclaim. Bruce didn't want to write another song, as that meant more work for him, and for the first time in his life, he wasn't looking for it. At the time, Bruce felt unhappy with his life, and he channeled those feelings into the lyrics.
You can't start a fire. You can't start a fire without a spark. This gun's for hire. Even if we're just dancing in the dark.
The song is a story of a man who's tired with his life and decides to make a change. The lyric, "You can't start a fire without a spark," captures the essence of the song's message about the need to embrace change. Dancing in the Dark spent 4 weeks at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 and was Springsteen's most successful single ever. Additionally, it won him his first Grammy for the Best Male Rock Performance. The music video was filmed twice because Bruce didn't like how the first version, directed by Jeff Stein, looked.
Hey, baby.
He hired Brian De Palma, the director of the recent Scarface remake, to shoot the music video. It featured Springsteen's first video performance and was shot at the St. Paul Civic Center in St. Paul, Minnesota on the 28th and 29th of June, 1984. The first night was a straightforward video shoot. However, the second night was filmed on the first show of the Born in the USA tour. The band played the song twice, so De Palma had footage to work with. Bruce was told to pick out a pre-selected young woman from the audience to dance with. The woman was Courtney Cox, who later starred in the Scream franchise and the Friends TV show.
Why is the Bruce Springsteen CD in the Cat Stevens case? Brian De Palma directed the video, and I was just from Alabama, and I came up here, and I went to his office, and I had no idea who Brian De Palma was until I saw these posters, Carrie, Blowout. I said, oh my gosh, this isn't the director that I think it is. Anyway, so I went into his office, and I had to dance, and by myself in this room with him. I was so embarrassed, especially because there was 300 girls outside that were professional dancers that had these great bodies with tight jeans and stuff, and here I'm looking like a slob with baggy jeans on.
And it was so embarrassing. I think that's why I got it, because I was literally like, okay. And I think that's what they wanted, a fan that just couldn't believe it.
Someone said, okay, so Bruce is going to pick one of you out of the audience, and I was like, no.
Really?
Yeah, I did not want to be the one that had go. I didn't want to dance in front of 30,000 people. It was a bigger story than just what you saw in the video.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they filmed this. It was me and 2 other girls. We were buying T-shirts and we were putting on makeup in the bathroom. It was like a whole little thing about, oh my God, I'm so excited to see this concert. I can't wait, I can't wait. And we get there and then one of us gets picked out of the audience. So they filmed all this stuff, but they didn't show that. They just showed, you know, that part. I spent a lot of time talking about what Bruce Springsteen was really like after that video. It got me in the door to so many places.
Oh, I bet. And everyone just wants to know about Bruce Springsteen.
I know.
Well, Bruce Springsteen is such a, I mean, he's so incredible. I love that song.
The video became one of the most iconic music videos of the decade, was nominated for the Best Overall Performance, and won the Best Stage Performance Award at Video Music Awards in 1985.
I'm very happy to receive this on behalf of Bruce, my brother, and the E Street Band. I'm sure he'd want to thank Brian De Palma for directing it, and John Landau, his manager, and CBS Records, and MTV, who probably played it a lot. Thank you. Solidarity.
Bruce still picks fans from the audience and does the iconic dance in later performances of this song.
He's as big as the Jacksons, some say bigger, and he does it with no lasers, no glitter, no gold, and no glove. Bruce Springsteen is America's blue-collar troubadour.
His lyrics, if you listen to his lyrics, they're beautiful. The way he writes everything he does is so nice. And him and Seeger, I like Seeger. He does it in Michigan. I think he's in Michigan. He does the same stuff where they live, where they come from, you know, is what they write about.
Born in the USA's main genre is described as heartland rock. Heartland typically refers to the central region of a country, often exemplified by the Midwestern United States or states not adjacent to the Atlantic or Pacific Oceans. It is commonly associated with conventional values like economic self-reliance, conservative political and religious beliefs, and a deep connection to agrarian life. People from that area especially like Springsteen's music. Bruce is the face and pioneer of heartland rock. Bob Seger, Tom Petty, and John Mellencamp are other popular heartland rock artists. The genre wasn't given a name until the 80s, even though the origin is considered to be Springsteen's 1975 album Born to Run. The basic blues lineup of drums, guitar, keyboard, and occasionally a horn section like a saxophone is the standard sound.
Okay, so you know which room he's staying in here? Yes, swing. Which one's that? Upstairs.
Bruce's fans, they like him a lot, and they can explain why.
One of the main elements of Bruce's music is his honesty. Springsteen writes his songs in an honest and dark way. The lyrics are sincere, talking about his past experiences or thoughts about the world. But his songs are never fully autobiographical. Bruce never worked a day in his life, but he understands the struggle of a blue-collar worker, thanks to his dad, whose life was miserable and hopeless. Bruce's goal was to experience the life of his dad in his songs and give people hope.
Where there's truth, there's always hope. You know?
This isn't music that says that everything is perfect, but this is definitely music that does shout that I love being an American.
Teams, cars, trucks, girls' names, and locations. Okay, Bryce, what have you got?
Well, I got in my 83 Mazda and I drove to the service station. A good friend of mine came with me and he was playing his new Ovation.
In 1984, Bruce's old friend and a key member of the band, Steven Van Zandt, departed. One night, Steven came to Bruce's hotel room to talk about his role in the band. He wanted more creative control over music, but was declined. Bruce was usually an easygoing person, but when it came to music, he was very strict.
And he just was at that place where it was like, it was time, I think for him to do, just have his own band.
And as they parted, he paused for a moment at the door, and Bruce said that they were still each other's great friends, and he didn't want to lose him, despite where they were headed.
It's a hard time right now to be an American. There's many voices in America, there's voices that you don't hear. There's voices that do not want to put missiles in your country. And this is the only thing I can do This is for all the desaparecidos.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Little Steven's solo album, Voice of America, was praised by many, including Bruce.
It was one of the best records I ever heard.
But he never made it big. People couldn't accept him in a role different than Springsteen's guitarist.
But I'm glad he's doing what he's doing because I think he's got something real important to say. I think he's saying it, just real tremendous.
2, 3, 4.
One of the most popular songs Bruce wrote for his friend was Bobby Jean. The 8-track on Born in the USA has a dance-like feel, driven by Roy Bittan's energetic riff. The lyrics talk about a man's relationship with a gender-ambiguous Bobby Jean, allowing various interpretations. Nonetheless, Bruce declared that it's about his friendship with Steven.
Well, Steve Van Zandt left.
Yeah. And we got Nils Lofgren, plays the guitar now, and there's a girl, Patty Scalfa, she sings.
Steven was replaced by guitarist and songwriter Nils Lofgren. He was introduced to the music industry at 17 when he met Neil Young. He snuck up on him backstage and played him a couple of songs he wrote. Young liked the songs and invited Lofgren to play on his After the Gold Rush album. In the 70s, Lofgren released a couple of solo albums, which were met with great reviews from the critics and inspired Bruce while recording the Born to Run album. However, he never got very popular, but he didn't want fame anyway. He was a very talented gymnast and performed acrobatics in music videos and on tour.
It's funny because I'd met him quite a while ago. I guess we've been crossing each other's paths for about since 1969. First time I saw him was we auditioned at the Fillmore West in San Francisco when it was still open. And we played early in the night, then he came on with his band Grin that he had. And it was the first time I heard like the guitar sound like it was coming through a Leslie, an organ. And they sounded so full, and it was only the three of them. He's a great guitar player.
They later met in Los Angeles at Sunset Marquee in the early 80s when his records weren't selling and he was at a low point. They went for a ride and talked about his career. Lofgren said that he wanted to join a band. In 1984, he received a phone call from Bruce, inviting him to hang out in New Jersey and play with the band a little bit, and eventually he stayed.
He was just kind of somebody like was one of the first people I thought about, and we didn't audition anybody or anything, He just kind of came up and, we stayed at my house and we just talked, and his feeling about music and rock and roll is like, I think, our feeling, the rest of the bands, He was a guy that I knew I was going to get the commitment out of, and he don't look at it like a job or it's a dedication for him. And it just, he just fit right away, So it's been great having him, He's a lot of fun on stage, too.
When I came into the band, right off the bat, emotionally, everyone in the band made me feel completely at home. And we've all kind of taken from each other, because that's the point of it. We're a team. It's like joining a new family and having everybody in the family be great.
Bruce's future wife, Patty Scalfa, was initially declined joining the band because she was still in high school.
When I called him, I was in high school. He said to me, he said, "Are you in school?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "No."
Scalfa captured Bruce's attention in 1984 when she was performing the Exciters' Tell Him at the Stone Pony in New Jersey.
I know something about love. Gotta hold it back.
They met, flirted, and became friends. Bruce left Patty home around 3 a.m., and with a kiss on the cheek and a see you at the club, the night came to a close. Bruce opened auditions for a backing singer, whom he needed following Stevens' departure. After listening to a couple of local voices, he invited Patty to audition. She got the part only 3 days before the tour. With the addition of Patty's voice, Bruce wanted to adjust to his now grown-up audience, whose lives were about men and women. She added a new energy to the band, breaking the boys' club, and some of the members had to adjust more than others. By 1984, the band became a more tempered version of their earlier, slightly misogynistic incarnation.
It's a very safe environment, right? Being on the road for a year and a half. I'm really protected. And you're making great music all the time. So you have that outlet, and it's always satisfying.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the piano, Professor Roy Benson. On the vocals, Miss Patty Scalper. On the drums, the mighty Max Weinberg. On the organ, the mysterious, the delirious, the incredible, the unbelievable, the immovable, the irreprovable, Phantom Dan Federici. On the bass guitar, the man with the thunder from down under, Mr. Gary W. Talent. And on the guitar, drum roll please, Mr. Nils Lofgren. And now last, but not least, the eighth wonder of the world, king of the entire known universe, including Hoboken, New Jersey, master of all things. Let me give me a seat. L-E-N-C-E. What's that spell? What's that spell? What's that spell? Clarence Big Man Clemens on the saxophone.
You can't start a fire without a spark. Arriving next week, Born in the USA, Bruce Springsteen on Columbia Records and Cassettes.
Born in the USA was released on June 4th, 1984. The album, promoted by 7 top 10 singles, reached the top of Billboard 200 within 2 weeks and stayed there for another 7. It was Springsteen's most successful album by a mile. Having sold over 30 million copies worldwide, it became the best-selling album of 1985 and one of the best-selling albums of all time. Critics and fans lauded the album, while also creating some controversy. Born in the USA made Springsteen an international superstar, a cultural icon, and the biggest rock artist on the planet. Bruce used his influence and popularity to raise awareness and fund various charitable organizations.
This Bruce Boost for the needy went to the Community Food Bank of New Jersey, now distributing $10 million worth of food in the Jersey area annually. Kathleen DeChiara began the nonprofit organization a decade ago in a station wagon. She feels that rock fans are responding well to pleas for the needy coming from their stars.
They see the humanness and the care and concern that he has. And it's not one of these things, do what I tell you. He's doing it also.
There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one.
In 1985, he was invited to sing on We Are the World, a single raising funds for African famine relief. It was a massive hit, recorded by 46 vocalists, including some of the biggest names in the music industry.
We are the world. We are the children.
Bruce and I, we knew each other, and when everybody's singing together, sometimes Bruce and I are in the chorus, and sometimes we're not, because there was a big pile of deli sandwiches on the other side of the room.
Yeah.
And we kept going over to get a beer and a sandwich.
Following We Are the World, he was invited to join Little Steven's project, Artists United Against Apartheid. For this initiative, Springsteen performed on Sun City.
In New York City, talking about Sun City, the most politically aggressive maneuver in the history of rock and roll.
Okay, the truth of the matter is this. That video is totally misrepresentative of the true facts. Why should Sun City then be linked with what you saw up there, violence, and you saw up there barbed wire? Those things don't exist in Botswana, and they don't exist at Sun City.
Let's get to the truth now. We want to talk about the truth. This is the truth. It's not Sun City itself. It's not the entertainment complex that's the problem. It's where it is. And where it is where people are not free to go where they want to go. They're there because they have been relocated forcibly. They have been put on a truck and taken hundreds of miles from their home and dropped in this area. And they cannot leave. They cannot get visas or passports. Their citizenship has been stripped. And no one in the world recognizes this as an independent country except for the South African government. So that barbed wire you see in the video is symbolic, and it is very true that these people are in a prison there. And all of the people that Saul employs are not there by choice, you know. That's what freedom is all about. It's about choice.
Some musicians who went to South Africa didn't think they were not told they were performing in South Africa, but they were supposedly performing in this independent country. Now the reason why, in fact, they were paid a phenomenal sums of money is because the government is subsidizing these shows and these events.
Years ago, before we were really had achieved the commercial status that we have now, they asked us to play there and offered us a ridiculous sum of money, like $2 million to play there, and we could have used the money then, but at least we were smart enough to know what was going on.
As a South African born in South Africa, I am denied the right of freedom of movement, not allowed to be outside of my home area for more than 72 hours without government permission. I have to carry a pass. I am not allowed to get married to someone from another city. As a black South African, I cannot vote. And as a black South African, I cannot own land. You know, from the cradle to the grave, if you are black in South Africa, you need government permission to exist.
The one thing that they all said was, please go back and tell the musical community, you know, to please not play Sun City.
Hello, Danny.
Well, I just basically call up friends, you know. That's how we started.
Steven, who's been my best friend since we were about 16 years old and gotten very involved in what was going on down there. And
Hey, Tommy, I guess maybe
he came back and he talked to me about it from time to time and what he was seeing. And I don't think you can sit and see, watch it on TV every night. You'll see some of the pain and the injustice that's going on down there without wanting to do something in some fashion about it. When we look in another country and see what's going on, because down there what's happening is so out in front, but I think it's a good moment for us to take a look at the racism and the prejudice that still exists in our own backyard. You know, obviously not just point the finger someplace else, but it's a moment when we should reinvestigate our own racial problems.
Do you fancy him?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, sexy. Sexy!
is the epitome of manhood, let me tell you.
Springsteen took a break before this tour as he decided not to promote Nebraska and gained a lot of muscle thanks to years of training. He worked out with Tony Horton, who also trained Tom Petty, Billy Idol, and many others. Back then, he was concentrated on strength, martial arts, and gaining a lot of weight, eventually getting pretty strong. This made him look like a working man who he was trying to model himself into, to impress his father. Also, he could play longer shows as he was in shape, but apparently those are not the reasons why he began working out. In the biography, Springsteen Point Blank, Christopher Sanford wrote that Bruce got into working out because around 1981 he got beaten up in New Jersey by some guy for stealing his girlfriend. Sanford's story was confirmed by Bruce's childhood friend, Todd Grice. Ironically, in his autobiography, he looks back at his bandana-wearing period and thinks he looks gay. And in a 90s interview for a gay magazine, the interviewer asked him if he was trying to appeal to a gay audience with that look.
He's got a lot of longtime fans. He's really had, it's really a groundswell of activity here. It's been years since he's been here. And he started out in the smaller shows up by us in a small 3,000-seat theater, and now he can fill this. He can play 10 shows and still sell out every one.
It's not like we're watching it, we're it, you know? We're the concert more than we're watching the concert.
Bruce thinks if he loses his music, he ain't gonna have nothing. And he wouldn't have had if he never had his music, and he knows that. And he really enjoys to play, and it's fun to watch somebody that loves it.
He's the boss, you know? We call him the boss, and he is the boss.
Bruce does something extra for us. Bruce does something extra for us. But
just that feeling in Philadelphia.
You just got to go see him.
The Born in the USA tour was Springsteen's most successful and longest tour to date, with a total of 156 concerts spread around 4 continents. The tour gained around $90 million and had 3.9 million people in attendance. Bruce had to play shows in stadiums so everyone could fit, despite saying he would never play in a stadium because of the lack of intimacy and closeness with fans. All but one venue completely sold out.
It's still amazing to me, yeah. Each time it's gotten much more intense and more successful and much bigger.
This is everything I've ever dreamed of, you know, when I was 14 years old and picked up a guitar. And this is, you know, you want to be with a great band and tour the world, and here we are, we've done it.
Rock star Bruce Springsteen married model Julianne Phillips early today. The private ceremony was held at 15 minutes after midnight in the bride's hometown of Lake Oswego, Oregon. Since the community was planning on the wedding being held this Wednesday, lots of the townspeople were thrown a curve.
In the middle of the tour, Bruce decided to marry Julianne Phillips, even though he only knew her for a few months. He was tired with his monogamous life and wanted stability.
They wanted a church wedding, along with all the goodies. She had a beautiful wedding gown, and Bruce had his tux on, and we had the family there and immediate friends. They wanted it quiet. And as Bruce said, you know, I have so much of this in my life. He said, I want something I can remember in the way of a church wedding.
Bruce had 3 best men. His manager, John Landau, longtime friend and former guitarist for his band, Miami Steve Van Zandt, and his friend and saxophone player, Clarence Clemens. Maids of honor were a good friend of Julianne's, Bruce's sister, and Julianne's sister.
Well, it is always divorce.
Bruce Springsteen has been singing to New Jersey girls like you for years. He married a girl from Oregon.
Honey, I thought he was going to marry me. But then I thought Prince Charles was going to marry me, too. I'm still getting over that one.
On June 1st, 1985, a hot day at Slane Castle, Ireland, Bruce opened the European tour to his biggest crowd yet. Over 95,000 people gathered to see him play. The fields were completely covered by young and intoxicated fans. Before the show even began, thousands of people were dangerously swaying from left to right. Dozens of audience members fell to the muddy ground and disappeared from the view for unbearable seconds. Then they got up and the situation repeated.
I thought somebody was going to get killed and it'd be my fault.
The band broke for intermission. Bruce was joined by his manager in a trailer, where they had a highly charged debate about canceling the entire tour. They decided to postpone the decision, as this was Bruce's first experience of playing in a stadium, and the entire tour was already sold out. Thankfully, the crowd settled during the second half, and a dangerous situation like that never repeated. Despite Bruce's hardship, it was a solid concert, and is often mentioned to him on the streets of Dublin. As usual, the concerts were extremely long, rarely less than 3 hours. Bruce loves his fans as much as they love him and wants to entertain them the best he can. He often says he was made for performing in front of an audience.
He can move an audience more than any rock singer has done before. He plays for 3.5 hours and leaves his fans wrung out.
Gothenburg, during the show closer, Twist and Shout, the crowd got so out of control, the Ullevi Stadium nearly collapsed. 62,000 people caused £3 million in damages. David Bowie's 1987 concert had to be relocated because of fears about the safety of the structure. Since then, the pillars supporting the stadium had been extended to ensure stability.
All I remember was smashing a guitar within
Exactly,
inches
and that's not you. I mean, that's not your style, is it?
within inches of John Landau, my manager's head, unfortunately. And I think I was young, and I was just starting to play these very large venues, and I felt an enormous amount of stress to not lose my contact with my audience, and I was used to a certain sort of intimacy with my audience, and I was unsure if I could bring that along and present that in venues of that sort.
When the tour ended on October 2nd, 1985, the album was still inside the top 10 on the Billboard 200 chart, and a hit single was on the charts during any moment of the tour.
This is a song about getting up there and still getting down. Are you ready, boys? Are you ready, people? All right.
Glory Days, the fifth single, released on May 13th, 1985, is a semi-serious tale of a man who looks back on his glory days and those of the people he knew during high school. The lyrics to the first verse look back upon Springsteen's encounter he had in the summer of 1973 with former baseball player Joe DePew.
Saw him the other night at this roadside bar. I was walking in, he was walking out. We went back inside, sat down, had a few drinks, but all we kept talking about was glory days.
Springsteen used to play baseball in his childhood and wanted to become a professional, but he quit his passion as he thought he was not good enough and eventually focused on music.
I was good off the field. I was good in the parking lot. I was a good player in the parking lot and in the sand lot, but the minute I got the uniform on and on the field, I don't know, something happened. I'm not sure why.
At only 15, Bruce was already playing shows on Friday nights and showing up for baseball on Saturday mornings.
I had the classic sort of clash of my two passions was the last year in Babe Ruth League. I was kind of showing up at the games, but my heart wasn't in it. I was starting to play the guitar.
Maybe if you had been really good in baseball, you wouldn't have picked up the guitar.
It could have been, because low self-esteem is essential for all rock musicians. I got to make my first big decision, and I decide, screw it, I'm not getting up the next morning. So next morning, I'm tucked into my little bed, and I hear banging at the door. My mother comes up and says, "Oh, they're looking for you to play. Hold on, tell them I'm sick, you know, tell them I can't play." She goes down, she comes back. No, they only have 8. If you don't show up, they're gonna forfeit the game, right? So now, I drag myself out of bed, I get the uniform on, it's 10 in the morning, I get over there, and I'm out in right field. I think I'm just about through. This is my swan song for my career. And bang, somebody hit something, big pop-up right out in my direction. I'm circling underneath it. It kind of just glances off my glove, cracks me in the skull.
No.
Yeah. And I drop. Bang. and all I hear is, throw it in! Throw it in, man! Throw it in!
There is an alternative mix of this song that features an additional verse and chorus about the main character's father. This section was cut out from the album version after Bruce realized it didn't fit within the theme of the song.
My old man worked 20 years on the line, and they let him go. Now everywhere he goes out looking for work, they just tell him that he's too old. I was 9 years old when he was working in the Metuchen for a plant assembly line. Now he just sits on a stool down at the Legion Hall, but I can tell what's on his mind. Glory days, yeah, I'm going back. Glory days, oh, he ain't never had glory days. Glory days.
On Tuesday, Bruce Springsteen showed up in Hoboken, New Jersey to shoot his latest video, Glory Days. Much to the dismay of Bruce's management, hundreds of Bruce Springsteen fans showed up too.
I'm freezing. I love them. I have to stay here.
It's pouring rain. You don't have an umbrella.
I know, but I'm excited.
The music video for this song was shot in late May 1985 in New Jersey by American filmmaker John Sayles.
He's somebody who basically, I think, knows what he wants.
It featured Bruce's character talking to his young son and pitching to a wooden backstop. The baseball field scene was shot at Miller Park Stadium in West New York and was intercut with bar scenes, which were filmed at Maxwell's in Hoboken. Steve Van Zandt was invited to perform with the band for the bar scenes. Springsteen's then wife, Julianne Phillips, made an appearance in the last scene playing his wife.
You were 18, you thought, gosh, I'm getting old.
Oh, gee. Yeah, I did.
Did you?
Yeah, because I thought I was almost 20. And like, oh, that was it. Not going to be a teenager anymore. I remember when I turned 20, it was like, it's disappointing, you know? But, you know, I turned 30 when I was about 27, you know? It was kind of, I started early. I remember thinking, yeah, well, I'm almost 30 now, you know? But I think, I haven't really thought about it that much anymore. You know, it's kind of, I'm, you know, kind of enjoying it, I guess.
It seems like you're having fun. You make it sort of a joke about it.
You know, it's just like, it's right now, you know, I got, you know, the band's great. Everybody's feeling great. I feel like the best I ever felt on stage, you know, and, you know, there's just no, I don't think that's as big a deal as it once was, if it ever was that big a deal. It's usually just what you're doing, what you got inside you, you know, in the end, you know. I guess I kind of wanted to sing about it in the songs just because it was kind of happening, you know. And I was always kind of concerned with singing about somebody that was, well, just my age, you know. I wanted to, like, kind of stay current with myself, you know. And, you know, I said, well, all right, when I'm 40, I can sing this song and laugh, you know, or something. So I started in Rosalita, you know. It's funny, I was looking back then already. In, I was only 24 then, you know.
My Hometown is the last track, and it closes the loud, anthemic album quietly. The song is about the connection to your hometown and how it never leaves you. Springsteen reflects on his hometown of Freehold and real events that took place during his childhood, both beautiful and ugly.
Cars that alight on a Saturday night. In the backseat there was a gun. Words are past, a shotgun blast. Troubled times that come in my hometown.
It captures themes of nostalgia, economic decline, and the impact of social and political shifts on local communities. This song can relate to everyone, despite specific details from Springsteen's own childhood. My Hometown was the 7th and final single from Born in the USA. It reached number 6 on the charts, and although it was a straightforward concert recording, it still got substantial MTV airplay in late 1985 and early 1986. It was a teaser for what would become the distinct sound of his next album, Tunnel of Love.
35, got aboard the van now. Last night I sat in the behind the wheel and said, son, take a